team like Kyrie and KD, or the Lake Show with King James and AD. Wish I could match him up with the bad boys from the 80s, but no black and white, I need that in HD. HenDawgz.
Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy HenDawgz, and we back to it. You know how we do it. This is changing the NBA right in front of our eyes. Shout out to Jimmy High Roller for another banging video. I hope it's I just said banging. That's trash. I'm not about to say banging video. Shout out to Jimmy High Roller for another good video. Hopefully, I don't know what to expect. What could be changing the NBA right in front of our eyes, but that's the whole point of me reacting to it. But before I do, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and like this video if y'all like this video, and go ahead and write something in the comments. Let me know how y'all feel about whatever this is changing the NBA right in front of our eyes. So let's get into it, man. We got this is changing the NBA right in front of our eyes. Let's get it.
The NBA introduced a new metric for data tracking that would revolutionize the league. Shooting location data. This new information provided far more than the basic data that we had for decades. Shot location data tracked specific instances on the court, like exactly where a shot was taken, if a shot came from an assist, or if a shot attempted at the rim was a layup or a dunk. At the time,
So basically it sounds like we got some very advanced statistics right here. And for some of y'all who've been tapped into the channel for a while, y'all would know that I worked in analytics for the NBA for 4 years. I did that for 4 years before I decided to, get into this whole entertainment type thing. So I know a little bit about this. So let's see what they talking about. I will say that I think a lot of the advanced data is kind of overrated. But let's see what Jimmy High Roller got to say about it.
This data was groundbreaking and spawned a new wave of analytics in the NBA. For the first time, we could actually use numbers and data to take a deeper look into what was happening throughout NBA games. Fortunately, this game-changing data was implemented just in time to track Michael Jordan's last 2 seasons with the Bulls. And this new data revealed what NBA fans had already known for over a decade. Michael Jordan was a mid-range god. According to shot location data, MJ shot 47.1% from mid-range, or from 10 to 23 feet from the basket in his last 2 seasons with the Bulls.
We didn't need analytics to know that Michael Jordan was a great mid-range shooter, though.
Now, this number may not sound all that impressive, but among the 80 players who attempted at least 3 mid-range shots per game throughout those 2 seasons, Michael Jordan was the best and most efficient. If all the other statistics the NBA has to offer weren't sufficient enough, shot location data proved once again that Michael Jordan was in a league of his own. This is the gold standard. Well, at least it used to be, because we still use shot location in today's NBA. And this season, among all players who have attempted at least 3 mid-range shots per game, there are 22 players league-wide who have a mid-range field goal percentage higher than Michael Jordan's was. Today's NBA players are really, really good at shooting the ball. In fact, they're so good, it's changing the game in ways we could have never imagined.
I like that. I like this right here because I think a lot of times, the new age basketball kind of get a bad, a bad rap on just like how soft there is, or how easy it is to score. But through all of that, like you said, man, these NBA players are really, really good, man. Specifically, they're really great shooters. So let's not take that from them. Let's just take it for what it is, man. You can agree that. They might be a little softer. There is no Dennis Rodmans and Bill Lambiers out there to make the game rough like y'all like it. Like, I can agree with all of that. But can we give them the credit? Can we give them the credit where it's due? Like, there's some great shooters out here. Them KDs, man, you're not gonna appreciate him till he gone. So let's just appreciate it now while we in the middle of it, man. I say that, you see KD right
Today's
there?
video is sponsored by DraftKings. December 25th is quickly approaching. You know what that means.
DraftKings not paying us, so we not about to go through this, but I do want to get in touch with DraftKings. I would love to be an affiliate of them. Or actually, since I just did a video with FanDuel, I just did a commercial with FanDuel in Boston that I just got back from. I'm Team FanDuel, man. Team FanDuel, where y'all at? Let's talk. Let's talk, FanDuel. Forget these guys. Forget DraftKings.
Heard of the phrase, shooter's gonna shoot? Well, since you're watching
Shoot
this
or
video,
shoot.
I'm sure you have. Before we had players like Steph, Dame, and Clay, we had Kobe, Ray, and Peja. And before them, we had guys like Larry Bird, Derek Harper, and Dale Ellis. Shooters who you can bet are gonna shoot their shot. The shooter is one of the most game-altering roles in basketball. The shooter can turn a double-digit lead into a tie game in absolutely no time at all. The shooter has the ultimate green light. But what happens when everyone in the league is the shooter? In past eras of the NBA, the shooter was a very specific, very defined role that was given to only the most elite shot makers in the game. But what happens when everyone is an elite shot maker?
7 foot
What if I
centers.
told you that about 80% of the greatest shooters in NBA history are all in the NBA right now? It sounds like a stretch.
What?
I know, but it's true. And as the NBA continues to evolve, the ability to be a great shooter will be less of an exception and more of a requirement.
He just said 80% of the best shooters of all time are in the league right now. Just think about that.
As we all know, the league has been going through a three-point revolution over the last 8 seasons or so. Teams and players realized the massive advantage that three-pointers provide, and very quickly the desire to be proficient at the long ball became priority number one. Players practiced the shot more, teams built entire offenses around the shot, and the efficiency of the shot skyrocketed around the league. Since the three-point shot was added to the NBA, the benchmark for what we consider to be a good three-point shooter has been about 40%. And this benchmark has virtually remained the standard ever since. But dating back to 1990, the number of players around the league who have shot at least 40% from three has fluctuated drastically, from as low as 7 players in 1991 to as high as 28 players in 1996. But the three-point line was 2 feet shorter that season, so those numbers are skewed. As we make our way through recent NBA history, the number of players capable of shooting 40% or more from three rises all the way up to 38 players in 2009, but then plummets back down to 17 the very next season. That total of 38 players would remain the league record for over a decade. That is until a record-shattering 50 players averaged at least 40% from three in 2021. And then again this season, where 45 players are currently exceeding what was once the benchmark number of 40%. The number of pure shooters in the NBA right now is absolutely absurd. But what if we remove the players that achieve their efficiency with minimal attempts? If we bump the minimum to at least 4 three-point attempts per game, well then our chart looks like this. And the overwhelming number of great shooters that are currently in the NBA right now becomes even more glaring. Unfortunately, for a lot of players in the past, shooting volume three-pointers just wasn't an option. It was far from normal to take 5, 6, 7 threes a game 35 years ago. But that's just it. The revolution of three-pointers in recent NBA history has allowed more players to become the shooter. But it's also allowed the shooter to have a much, much larger role from game to game. Before Steph Curry came along and blew the gates open on what kind of shooting we even thought was possible, Ray Allen was widely regarded as the greatest three-point shooter of all time. And throughout Ray Allen's peak 5-year stretch from 2003 to 2007, he averaged 38% from three on 7.5 three-point attempts per game. Just like Michael Jordan with his mid-range, Ray Allen and his exceptional efficiency on volume shooting was the gold standard for all shooters to aim for. This, however, is no longer the case, because currently there are 11 players around the league who are all averaging a higher three-point percentage on more three-point attempts per game over the last 5 seasons than Ray Allen did during his run as the best shooter on the planet.
That's crazy. That's crazy, but I will say that I feel like the reason why is confidence. When you have a coach, when you have an organization that allows you to go out there and shoot as many threes as you want with no consequences, you're going to shoot it with a little bit more, a little bit more confidence. Like when you're out there only shooting three threes a game, you're going to be thinking about those threes a lot more. Like, okay, I have to make this because I might not get another one, or I might only get one more the rest of the game, so I got to really focus in. And then you'll probably end up missing. But if you're out there, just fluid, not really thinking about it, just shooting, and you're already on top of that as a great shooter, the more attempts, I feel like the percentages still will go up. It's not like most things where the more attempts you get, the less the percentage will be. Like, I don't think that's really the case with this because of the confidence factor with the ability to shoot. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Shot location data has revealed that the NBA is not a big man's league like it once was. It isn't a league that prides itself on defense or even versatility or teamwork for that matter. The NBA is a shooter's league, and this trend can even be seen in the efficiency of free throws. The simplest shot in all of basketball, a shot that literally has the word free in its name, has been optimized far more now than it ever has been. This season, there are 16 players averaging at least 90% from the free throw line. Go back just 10 years ago to the 2012-2013 NBA season, and the number of players who averaged at least 90% from the charity stripe was just 3. In fact, we don't have to go back very far to find seasons where the 90% threshold was reserved for only 1 or 2 players in any given season. Back in the 80s, the title of the league's best shooter was held exclusively by Larry Bird.
50, 40, 90.
Evolving drastically since Bird's retirement 3 decades ago, he is still regarded as one of the greatest shooters to ever lace up.
What you looking at?
Throughout Bird's career, he led the league in free throw percentage 4 times. In one of those seasons, Bird shot better than anyone else in the entire NBA when he shot 88.8% from the line in 1984. This season alone, there are 22 players who are shooting at least 88.8% from the free throw line. What was once a free throw rate good enough to lead the league now wouldn't even crack the top 20 in today's league.
Who is DeMar DeRozan? DeRozan? Come on, Jimmy High Roller.
Only through decades of trial and error have NBA teams discovered which shots are worth taking and which shots are not. Combine offensive schemes designed to get great open shots with the most talented shooters in NBA history.
Game time.
Players around the league are simply hitting far more shots than ever before. Now, one of the more popular advanced stats is offensive rating. This stat simply measures how many points a team scores per 100 possessions. It's an efficiency stat. When a team brings the ball down the court, how often are they scoring? In the 1999-2000 season, the most efficient offense in the entire NBA was held by the Indiana Pacers, who had an offensive rating of 108.5. This season, the Charlotte Hornets are the least efficient offensive team in the entire NBA with a rating of 108.7.
That's
the worst offensive team in the NBA today is more...
What is that saying? Is that just saying that it's not good defense in the league? Like, y'all let me know in the comments right now, like, what does this stat right here say? Does it say that the offensive players in today's game is just way more advanced than it was in 1999? Or was just the defense that much worse in 2022? Let me know in the comments, man.
Efficient than the best offensive team in the NBA just 2 decades ago. In today's NBA, we are constantly seeing point totals well over 120, even 130 at times. After watching the dead ball era for over a decade where a team could win a game after scoring just 80 points, seeing 250 points scored in a single NBA game on a regular basis can be a bit jarring. The most common explanation for these insane point totals being that teams just don't play defense anymore. And this is somewhat true, but a lack of intense, disciplined defense is not nearly the largest factor that leads to these point totals. At a certain point, good offense is going to beat good defense. So what happens when the entire league slowly becomes more and more unguardable? Eventually, there's no defensive scheme that can keep up with this level of offensive efficiency. 80% of the greatest shooters in NBA history are all in the NBA right now. Not because they're innately better shooters than past players, but because in order to even play in today's NBA, this level of elite shooting has virtually become a requirement. Young stars around the league, players who are 21, 22, 23, were just kids when the three-point revolution began. These players have only known a game that revolved around volume threes and long jumpers. So where past players didn't hone in on their shooting abilities until later on in their careers, these young players have been trained to knock down the deep ball from the minute they picked up a basketball. By the time Steph won his first MVP, players like Tyler Hero, Jordan Poole, John Morant, Darius Garland, Anthony Simons, Anthony Edwards were just starting their prep careers. By the time they had made it to the league, they already had more long-range reps than past players would get in an entire career. Today's NBA is built for the shooter because it was designed by the shooter. Years and years ago, Larry Bird was the blueprint. In a league where getting the ball into the post was an absolute necessity, he showed us that three-pointers were actually worth taking. Reggie Miller and Ray Allen were the next iteration of the shooter. No longer was the shot reserved for just spot-up shooters a handful of times a game, but you could take the shot off the dribble. You can pull up from three in an ISO situation. You can take them in volume and not be crucified for doing so. And players like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, and Kevin Durant took shooting to a whole new level. A shot from 30 feet out was no longer a last-second heave, but now an actual, real shot attempt. They proved that you can win a championship led by not big men, but by shooters. And they spawned an entire generation of shot makers unlike anything the league has ever seen. And with that being said, I'd like to leave y'all with this. Back in 1988, a player named Michael Adams broke new ground in the NBA. At the time, Michael was a young point guard in his third season in the league, playing for the Denver Nuggets. Now, Michael wasn't what you would call a sharpshooter, especially by today's standards. But that didn't stop Michael from doing what no other player had done before. Because in that season 35 years ago, Michael attempted 4.6 three-pointers per game. Nearly half of his total shot attempts each game came from beyond the arc. This was the first time since the introduction of the three-point line that a player shot at least 4 threes a game. He didn't know it at the time, but Michael Adams was the NBA's first volume three-point shooter. And since that season 35 years ago, there have been a total of 255 individual seasons where a player has maintained a true shooting percentage of at least 60% while attempting at least 4 threes a game. That's 35 years of thousands of shooters condensed to just 255 of the very best the NBA has ever had to offer. Of those 255 seasons, 178 of them came from players who are currently in the NBA. The National Basketball Association is a shooters league, and today's shooters are in a league of their own. Hope you all enjoyed, and as always, until next time.
Good video. So basically, the NBA is changing in front of our eyes in the sense of it's no longer a big man league. It's a shooters league, and I'm all for it because I'm a shooter, man. So I enjoy it, man. But I appreciate y'all for watching this video. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel if y'all haven't already. Go ahead and like this video if y'all like this video. And go ahead and write something in the comments. Let me know how y'all feel about the NBA changing into a shooters league. I know a lot of y'all gonna be like, well, yeah, it's turned into a shooters league because they soft. But I appreciate y'all like always. We out.